Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're focusing on Florida State University, FSU.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might already have some thoughts about FSU, but, well, our goal here is to really dig into what makes this university stand out.
Exactly.
We've got this document, it's packed with information, and we're going to, try and pull out the most interesting, the most impactful stuff.
That's the plan. Yeah, not just skimming the surface. We're really going to try and get into the details, uncover the core strengths, the unique character of Florida State.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the basics. FSU, it's a public research university.
Right.
And it's in Tallahassee, Florida.
Which is the state capital.
Yeah, Tallahassee being the capital, that adds an interesting layer, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, you can imagine being there fosters connections maybe with government, policy, especially when you think about some of their programs like public policy later on.
Good point.
And what's really fascinating, historically speaking, is the founding year, 1851.
Wow, 1851?
Yeah, so you see, it's genuinely one of the oldest institutions in Florida, a really key part of the state university system. It's got deep roots.
Absolutely, deep roots. And with that history comes a motto, Vires, Arts, Mores.
Strength, skill, character.
Right, strength, skill, character. It sounds, very traditional university SEAL stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, how does that actually, play out today at FSU?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it as sort of a guiding principle, maybe.
Yeah.
Strength in research, skill from the programs, and, well, fostering character. You might see it reflected in just the sheer range of opportunities they offer. Speaking of identity, their colors are garnet and gold.
Right, iconic colors.
And the mascot, Osceola and Renegade, symbolizing Seminole heritage. That's very
Very. And athletics, NCAA Division I and the ACC, clearly a big part of the experience.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for anyone wanting to look deeper themselves, the website is just www.fsci.edu.
Okay, good to know. So, strong foundation. Now let's explore the academics. 16 colleges and schools. That's a lot. It really suggests a broad range of options.
It definitely does. You've got arts and sciences, business, education, engineering, law, medicine, the film school, music, social sciences, hospitality too. It's a huge spread.
Really covers the map.
It does. It points to a university with, many different areas of expertise. And when you look at what they highlight as notable programs,
Yeah.
criminology, meteorology, oceanography, creative writing, public policy, the fact that these are often top ranked, well, that says a lot about the quality within those diverse fields.
So it's not just breadth, it's depth in key areas.
Exactly. It's not just offering lots of things, but offering excellence.
And then there's the FSU Film School. That gets a special mention, doesn't it? Highlighted as, one of the best in the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Big time. With alumni working in Hollywood, that gives it a very tangible connection to a pretty influential industry. Right?
Totally. It moves beyond just pure academics into something people really see and engage with.
For sure. But then you pivot to something completely different, but equally impressive. The National High Magnetic Field Laboratory, the Mag Lab.
Right. The Mag Lab. I saw that. It's the world's strongest magnet lab.
That's what it says. Funded by the National Science Foundation. I mean, that's a serious research powerhouse located right there.
Film school. World's strongest magnets. That's quite the combination.
It really is. It just underscores this commitment to, cutting-edge research with global significance.
And then you also see the College of Medicine mentioned, with a specific focus on rural and underserved healthcare.
Yeah, that adds another dimension. It shows a commitment to addressing real societal needs, not just the high-profile stuff.
It feels grounded.
It does. And just for scale, fall 2023 enrollment was around 45,000 students.
Okay, big place.
Big, yeah. But the student-faculty ratio is listed as 17-1, so suggests you still get reasonable access to professors.
That's pretty good for a university that size. Okay, let's talk reputation, rankings. They always come up.
Always.
For 2023, 2024, U.S. News has them at hashtag 53 nationally and hashtag 19 among top public schools.
Solid rankings. Puts them firmly in that top tier of public universities.
Definitely. And that hashtag 1 in film production from The Hollywood Reporter, that just hammers home the point about the film school again.
It really does. And also a top 10 in criminology from U.S. News. Again, showing that strength across different areas.
So, performing well there. But let's dig into the research side more. You mentioned the Mag Lab. The document calls FSU an R1 institution, doctoral university, very high research activity. What does R1 really mean?
Yeah, R1 is a big deal. It's a Carnegie classification, and it basically means FSU is among the nation's elite research institutions. It's based on things like research spending, number of PhDs awarded, research staff.
Okay, so it's a formal recognition of major research output.
Exactly. And the document mentions annual research spending over $350 million. That backs it up. And like we said, the Mag Lab is a huge part of that picture.
And they're focusing this research power on some critical areas, too. Climate science, biomedical research, AI.
Right. Fields with huge global importance. It shows their research isn't just, stuck in a lab. It's aimed at tackling major challenges.
Which connects back to driving innovation, economic development, all that.
Precisely. An R1 university like FSU plays a really vital role there.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk campus, student life, the FSU experience.
All right.
Main campus, 487 acres in Tallahassee. Mix of old and new buildings. What about landmarks? What gives you a feel for the place?
Well, Doak Campbell Stadium is probably the most visible. Seats almost 80,000.
Whoa, okay, so football is huge.
Undeniably. Then there's Westcott Fountain, described as iconic. Those central spots that become really memorable.
Every campus has one.
Exactly. Strossier Library is the main library, and Ruby Diamond Concert Hall points to a strong performing arts scene, too.
Sounds like a pretty classic large university campus feel. And student life seems active. Over 6,500 students living on campus. 700-plus student organizations.
Yeah, 700 plus, including Greek life. That's just a ton of ways for students to get involved, find their community.
Definitely points to a vibrant campus culture beyond just classes.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have the traditions, which really cement that culture. The FSU fight song, the war chant, the tomahawk chop.
Very recognizable.
Very. Homecoming week sounds like a big deal, especially with this flying high circus they mentioned.
The circus?
Barely. A unique FSU tradition. And the Garnet and Gold game, the spring football scrimmage, keeps that energy going.
Okay, so speaking of spirit, let's dive into athletics properly. The Seminoles, ACC conference, and that football history. 3 national championships, 93, 99, 2013. That's serious pedigree.
It absolutely is. That kind of national success brings enormous visibility, prestige, and those rivalries. UF, Miami.
The Sunshine Showdown. Yeah, those are intense in-state battles.
Huge bragging rights on the line there.
And it's not just football, right? The document lists success in other sports, too.
Yeah, basketball, baseball. They won the College World Series in 2018, apparently. Soccer, softball, track and field. It seems like a pretty well-rounded, successful athletic department overall.
And they produce some famous athletes. Deion Sanders, Charlie Ward, Jameis Winston, Buster Posey in baseball. Big names.
Really big names. People who were stars at FSU and then became stars professionally. It definitely boosts the university's profile.
Okay, so athletics are clearly a major pillar. What about alumni impact beyond sports?
Also quite impressive looking at the list.
Yeah, in entertainment, you've got Burt Reynolds, Alan Ball, who wrote American Beauty. Even Jim Morrison from The Doors went there for a while.
That's a pretty diverse group of creative types, isn't it? Suggests an environment that maybe nurtures different kinds of talent.
Seems like it. And then in politics and law, Governor Ron DeSantis, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the environmentalist.
Right. Shows graduates making an impact in civic life policy.
And then more sports legends. Derek Brooks, Hall of Famer. Work done.
Yeah, it reinforces that athletic legacy again. It really paints a picture of alumni achieving things across, well, a whole spectrum of fields.
Okay, last piece here. Admissions, financial aid. For people thinking about applying. Acceptance rate around 37% for 2023. So selective.
Yeah, moderately selective, not impossible, but certainly competitive. The average set-tac scores give a clearer benchmark there. SAT 1220, 1350, ACT 2731.
Good guidance for prospective students. And tuition. About $6,500 in state, $22,000 out of state per year for 23-24.
Standard figures to consider. But the financial aid number is striking.
Yeah, over $500 million awarded annually. Scholarships, grants, work study.
That's a huge amount. It really signals a commitment to access and affordability, trying to make it possible for talented students regardless of their financial background.
That's a really important piece of the puzzle.
Definitely. It makes a big difference.
So bringing this all together, it feels like FSU is, well, a really significant public research university. It's got the history, the broad academics with some standout programs like film and sciences.
Strong research, that R1 status.
Right. Championship athletics, a lively campus, notable alumni. It seems to tick a lot of boxes.
It really does.
Yeah.
It comes across as a comprehensive university that manages to balance serious academics with, that strong school spirit and community feel. The mix of top programs and major research makes it pretty compelling.
Yeah, this deep dive definitely paints a picture of a dynamic and impactful place. Thinking about that combination, the top-tier film school right alongside one leading magnet lab, kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, what sort of unexpected collaborations or maybe even innovations could possibly emerge from having that kind of diverse research environment all on one campus in the future?
Huh. Film and physics. That's an interesting thought to chew on. What could come out of that mix?
Exactly. Definitely something to ponder.